It's my great pleasure to give you David Bezmozgis. Interesting. See what I can do? Okay.
Hi. I'll read from the Free World. It also needs very little introduction. I'll just read the first chapter. What do you need to know? The year's 1978. It's a family of Soviet Jews leaving the Soviet Union on their way to somewhere. We picked them up in Vienna. What else do you need to know? I think that's about it. You'll catch on. Alec Krasnansky stood on the platform of Vienna's Western Terminal, while all around him the representatives of Soviet Jewry from Tallinn to Tashkent roiled, snarled, and elbowed to deposit their belongings onto the waiting train. His own family roiled among them, his parents, his wife, his nephews, his sister-in-law, and particularly his brother Carl worked furiously with the suitcases and duffel bags. He should have been helping them, but his attention was drawn farther down the platform by two pretty tourists. One was a brunette, Mediterranean and voluptuous, the other petite and blonde. In combination, they attested, as though by design, to the scope of the world's beauty and plenitude. Both girls were barefoot, their leather sandals arranged in tidy pairs beside them. Alec traced a line of smooth tan skin from heel to calf to thigh, interrupted ultimately by the frayed edge of cut-off blue jeans. Above the cut-off jeans, the girls wore thin sleeveless shirts. They sat on their backpacks and leaned casually against each other. Their faces were lovely and vacant. They seemed beyond train schedules and obligations. People sped past them, the Russian circus performed its ludicrous act several meters away, but they paid no attention. Alec assumed they were Americans. He guessed they were in their early 20s. He was 26, but he could pass for younger. In school and university, he had run track and had retained the trim runner's build. He also had his father's dark wavy hair. From the time Alec was a boy, he had been aware of his effect on women. In his presence, they often became exaggerated versions of themselves. The maternal ones became more maternal, the crude ones became cruder, the shy ones shyer. They wanted only that he not make them feel foolish and were grateful when he didn't. In his experience, much of what was good in life could be traced to a woman's gratitude. Looking at the two girls, Alec had to resist the urge to approach them. It could be the simplest thing in the world. He had studied English. He needed only to walk over and say, "Hello, are you Americans?" And they needed only to respond, "Yes." "Where in America do you live?" "Chicago." "And where are you from?" "Riga, Latvia, the Soviet Union." "How interesting. We have never met anyone from the Soviet Union before. Where are you traveling to?" "Chicago." "No, is this true?" "Yes, it is true. I'm traveling to Chicago." "Will this be your first time in Chicago?" "Yes, it will be my first time in Chicago. Can you tell me about Chicago?" "Yes, we can tell you about it. Please sit down with us. We will tell you everything about Chicago." "Thank you. You are welcome." Alec felt Carl's hand on his shoulder. "What's the matter with you?" "Nothing. We have 7 minutes to finish loading everything onto the train." He followed Carl back to where their parents were arranging the suitcases so that Carl and Alec could continue forcing them to the window of the compartment. Near them, an elderly couple sat dejectedly on their bags. Others worked around them, avoiding not only helping them, but also looking them in the face. Old people sitting piteously on luggage had become a familiar spectacle. "I see them cross-eyed. Move your ass, and if there's time, we'll help them." Alec bent into the remaining pile of suitcases and duffel bags on the platform. Each seemed heavier than the last. For 6 adults, they had 20 articles of luggage, crammed with goods destined for the bazaars of Rome. Linens, toys, samovars, ballet shoes, nesting dolls, leather Latvian handicrafts, nylon stockings, lacquer boxes, pocket knives, camera equipment, picture books, and opera glasses. One particularly heavy suitcase held Alec's big commercial investment, dozens of symphonic records. First hefting the bags onto his shoulder and then sliding them along the outside of the train, Alec managed to pass them up to the compartment and into the arms of Paulina and Rosa, his and Carl's wives. Carl turned to the old couple. "All right, citizens, can we offer you a hand?" The old man rose from his suitcase, stood erect, and answered with the formality of a party official or university lecturer. "We would be very obliged to you. If you will allow, my wife is with her a box of chocolates." "It's not necessary." "Not even a little something for the children?" Carl's two boys had poked their heads out the compartment window. "Do as you like, but they're like animals at the zoo. I suggest you mind your fingers." Alec and Carl shouldered the old people's suitcases and passed them into their compartment. Alec noticed the way the old man looked at Paulina. "This is your wife?" "Yes." "True Russian beauty." "I appreciate the compliment, though she might disagree. Emigration is not exactly cosmetic." "Absolutely false. The Russian woman blossoms under toil. The Russian man can drink and fight, but our former country was built on the back of the Russian woman." "What country wasn't?" "That may be so, but I don't know about other countries. I was a Soviet citizen. To my generation, this meant something. We sacrificed our youth, our most productive years, our faith. And in the end, they robbed us of everything. This is why it does my heart proud to see your wife. Every Jew should have taken with him a Russian bride, if only to deny them to the alcoholics. I'm an old man, but if the law had allowed, I would have taken 10 wives myself, real Russian women, because that country couldn't survive 5 minutes without them." The old man's wife, the incontrovertible product of shtetl breeding, listened to her husband's speech with spousal indifference. There was nothing, her expression declared, that she hadn't heard him say 100 times. "To women," Alex said, "when we get to Rome, we should drink to it." Alec helped the old couple onto the car and scrambled up as it began to edge forward. He squeezed past people in the narrow passageway and found his family crammed in with their belongings. Perched on a pile of duffel bags, his father frowned in Alec's direction. "What were you talking about with that old rooster?" "The greatness of the Russian woman?" "Your favorite subject. Almost missed the train." Samuel Krasnansky turned his head and considered their circumstances. The compartments are half the size. This was true, Alec thought. Say what you want about the Soviet Union, but the sleeping compartments were bigger. "You want to go back because of the bigger compartments?" Carl asked. "What do you care about what I want?" Samuel said. Samuel Krasnansky said nothing else between Vienna and Rome. He sat in silence beside his wife and eventually fell asleep. Okay, so that's the end of that. Now, I wish I'd come up with something as subtle and elegant as the previous two readers. And I really have no explanation, no really good explanation for what I came up with. I don't remember the origin of it. At some point somebody said, "What are you going to do?" I've seen YouTube videos where people crush a potato with their hands. Can you do that? And I said, "No, that's not what I'm doing." So you were all given a ping pong ball as you came in with your ticket. Maybe part of the idea was, I generally think readings are probably the lowest form of entertainment. So I try to find something to spice it up. And maybe if after you've heard somebody read, you're like, "Man, I wish I could throw something at that guy." I really didn't like it. Maybe you think, I kind of liked it. And I kind of liked it. And maybe if there was something in it for me.
Oh my God.
There's a moment when you're at Target holding your 1-year-old daughter and you're looking at the rack of hats and you're looking at the Angry Birds hat and you're thinking, is that really the best hat to attach a pail to? And it's at that moment that you start to question whether this is such a great idea. However, so this is kind of what I had in mind. I'm supposed to, I have to kind of lean forward. So this is the plan. It'll demand that the people in the back kind of have to come forward, all in an orderly, kind of non-fire hazard fashion. Have to move a little bit closer. And the idea is that everybody will throw their ping pong ball at me. I guess the truth is, I don't know when I would have an opportunity to have 100 people throw a ping pong ball at me. And that was really what I was into. But for those of you who thought, you know, that wasn't a bad reading, maybe I would kind of be into this book. If you get your ball into the pail, Picador will give you a free book. They didn't know that, but they do. So if in an orderly fashion, we could kind of, people come down a little bit. These are really fogging up, so I can't see anymore. I mean, unless you really hated what I read. And I'm gonna have Amanda count to 3 when everybody's down, and we'll throw it all at once for me, because that's kind of like the ecstatic experience for me. So, yes, the bucket. I mean, people can do whatever they want. If they really want to whip these things at me, I guess they can. But the objective is, we'll see if anybody actually gets anything into the bucket. Can we do that? All right. So people come, I honestly can't see. And count to 3 so it all happens at once. Not to dictate terms, but, you know, it'll be more fun for me. Is everybody ready? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Alright, so... We were 98, I don't know, 97 or 98. Mine does.
Alright, ready? 41. 20. More enthusiasm. 37. I'm stoned now. Alright.
So, whatever, present your ticket
Yeah.
to Picador. Thank you.